Humanity had always believed the stars were vast, unconquerable, and distant enough that war would never again touch their home. For centuries, the scars of ancient terrestrial conflicts had taught them caution. Progress was deliberate, unified under councils that valued exploration over domination, dialogue over force. Yet for all their optimism, they never imagined the day would come when the sky itself would burn above them, when the distant civilizations they hoped to greet with peace would respond not with curiosity, but with cold, calculated aggression. The Galactic Empire had watched humanity's rise with growing unease, their bureaucratic machine slow but relentless. For generations, they dominated thousands of systems, ruled by the absolute belief that order must be preserved at any cost. A young, rapidly advancing species like humanity threatened that order, not because humans were violent, but because they were unpredictable, creative, and far too quick at understanding technologies the Empire had taken millennia to refine. It was the unpredictability the Empire feared, the ingenuity they couldn't measure. And so, in a chamber of polished obsidian beneath the Empire's central capital, a council of ancient beings reviewed projections, battle simulations, and political forecasts. Their decision, when spoken aloud, felt almost casual. Humanity needed to be contained before it became a force capable of standing beside the elder powers as equals. A limitation, a restriction, a blockade, anything that reminded this upstart world that the galaxy belonged to the Empire. They sent their first message with all the arrogance of a civilization that had not been challenged in 10,000 years. Humanity received it with shock, confusion, and disbelief. The Empire demanded they halt all expansion beyond their home system, cease their exploration missions, and surrender control of their outer colonies. Humanity responded with diplomacy, with offers of cooperation and trade. They asked for clarification, for dialogue, for peace. The Empire interpreted this as weakness. On a quiet night, beneath a sky too calm for the violence that followed, the Empire moved from posturing to action. Their fleet emerged from folds in space-time, vast structures of blackened metal and cold precision. Without warning, without declaration, without the courtesy of a final demand, they opened fire on Earth's orbital ring. Thousands of satellites, civilian, scientific, communications, were obliterated within minutes. The orbital elevator, a marvel of engineering connecting Earth's surface to space, snapped under a barrage of plasma fire, falling in burning fragments across the Pacific. On Luna, human research bases crumbled beneath precision kinetic strikes. Colonies on Mars lost atmosphere, their domes ruptured by orbital bombardment. Over 3 million humans died in the first hour. The galaxy watched without emotion. To them, this was standard practice. A small species pushed back into submission. A rising power reminded of its place. What the Empire and the galaxy did not understand was that humanity had a limit, a boundary that no enemy had crossed in thousands of years. The attack on Earth did more than cause destruction. It unified 8 billion voices into one. It awakened every forgotten instinct, every old wound carved into the species' history. Humanity had always been peaceful because peace was earned after suffering. But when their home was struck, when innocent lives were taken, humanity found clarity in its fury. The attack became the spark that ignited a fire unlike anything the galaxy had prepared for. In the hours following the assault, underground bunkers across Earth activated. Data centers rerouted power. Military satellites hidden in deep black programs awoke like ancient guardians. World leaders gathered, physically and holographically, in the deepest war room humankind had ever constructed. No names were spoken. No titles mattered. Only resolve. The generals, faceless in their unity, examined the destruction in silence. They reviewed casualty counts. They assessed damage across orbital stations, scanned for survivors, analyzed debris, and calculated the Empire's attack pattern. They moved with practiced precision. No panic, no hesitation, only purpose. These were not warmongers. These were protectors forged by a species that understood the price of survival better than most. The Empire sent a second transmission, believing their display of force had been enough. It was a demand for unconditional surrender, for the dismantling of Earth's defenses, and for immediate compliance with imperial law. The transmission played in the war room. There was no anger on the faces of the generals, only a silent, absolute decision. Humanity would no longer respond with negotiation. They would respond with strength. The war room dimmed as holoscreens displayed the Empire's fleet composition, vulnerabilities, and projected reinforcement timelines. Human analysts, augmented by quantum processing AIS, calculated response strategies in seconds. Factories across Earth switched to wartime production without needing a command. Every scientist, engineer, pilot, and operator understood what must be done. Humanity did not mobilize because they wanted revenge. They mobilized because they had been attacked at home, because millions had died, because the Empire had believed humans would break. Instead, humanity became sharper, faster, stronger. The Empire's envoy arrived in orbit days later, expecting to see a broken world. Their fleets hovered above Earth, armored hulls gleaming with imperial insignias, ready to accept Earth's surrender. But Earth did not respond. Not immediately. They waited until the entire Galactic Empire's relay network was synced, until every watching species could see and hear what humanity would say next. Inside the war room, one of the generals stepped forward. Their face was not shown. Their identity did not matter. They represented humanity itself. With calm precision, they activated the transmission. Across the galaxy, screens flickered. Imperial officers leaned forward. Independent worlds paused their routines. Neutral species felt a chill. For the first time since the attack, humanity spoke, "You attacked our homeland." Those 4 words carried more weight than any threat. They were not spoken with rage, but with a kind of controlled clarity that frightened even seasoned imperial commanders. It was the tone of a species that had made its decision. The transmission continued, not with pleas, not with fear, but with a warning. Humanity declared that the Empire's actions would not go unanswered. They stated that they would defend their world, their people, and every future generation with a resolve carved from their oldest history. Humanity did not boast. They did not promise conquest. They promised justice. The Empire dismissed the message as bravado. They had faced rebellions before, insurgents, insurgent species, breakaway clusters. They believed humanity to be the same. They were wrong. The moment the transmission ended, Earth unveiled technologies the Empire had not anticipated. Quantum-linked targeting arrays activated. Stealth ships, never publicly disclosed, rose from ocean hangars. Orbital platforms repaired themselves with adaptive nanostructures. Human engineers, driven by the loss of their loved ones, began breakthroughs at speeds no other species could match. Within hours, human scientists decoded fragments of Imperial weaponry from debris collected during the attack. They discovered weaknesses, flaws, structural gaps in energy shielding, details the Empire never thought another species could find so quickly. The last surviving assassins of the Galactic Empire moved through Earth's wilderness with the same fear that primitive prey once felt when early humans hunted them under the moonlight. Their perfect formation was gone, broken by losses too rapid to compute. Their command networks studded with damaged signals. Their once precise movements had devolved into frantic, staggering escapes. For the first time in their centuries of honed discipline, they were no longer predators. They were animals running from something that understood them better than they understood themselves. Something that studied them not with hatred, but with familiarity. They had come to extinguish humanity, and instead walked into a world where the dark was already owned by 2 entities that had earned their place, not through empire, but through survival. Baba Yaga and the American Boogeyman did not hunt with technology. They hunted with instinct sharpened by human history, a history carved in blood, struggle, and the relentless refusal to die across an abandoned industrial zone, one of the last assassin squads moved silently. Their armor, capable of blending in with alien terrains, flickered in instability as if the environment itself rejected them. They searched for a rendezvous point, glancing over shoulders they once kept still, their normally calm breathing patterns now spiking out of rhythm. Their augmented hearts beat with a fear their training had never accounted for. One assassin paused. He sensed a shift in temperature. It was subtle, barely even measurable, but it didn't belong. He turned, too slowly. The last thing he saw was a faint blur, a shadow folding into itself. Then his world vanished in cold silence, his neural core dimming without even a chance to transmit a warning. Baba Yaga did not waste movements. She flowed through the team like an inevitability, each motion calculated, each strike precise. Her feet made no sound. Her presence created no echo. The surrounding air felt heavy, like a storm gathering without lightning or wind. She was the unseen breath before death, the whisper that creatures feel rather than hear. Elsewhere on the planet, far to the north, the boogeyman moved with a different kind of terror. His presence was not silent. It was oppressive. He used the environment like a sculptor, bending its natural chaos into weapons. An assassin sprinted through the forest, his enhanced legs tearing through brush at impossible speed. His senses scanned every direction but detected nothing. He felt a pressure behind him, like a predator pacing its prey from just out of sight. He turned, raised his rifle, but the forest itself seemed to swallow the sound. The boogeyman stepped from behind a tree that hadn't been there a moment ago. The assassin's training urged him to fire, but his instincts froze him in place. The man approaching him didn't move like a soldier. He moved like an inevitability, like the physical embodiment of everything lurking under a child's bed. The assassin attempted to speak a warning into his comms, but his throat closed as if the very air betrayed him. He didn't feel the strike. He didn't hear his armor crack. He only felt, for the first time in his engineered existence, something he had never been allowed to understand. Despair. Hours passed. Then a day. Then two. And across those hours the assassin's numbers dwindled with terrifying speed. From 10,000 to 9,000 to 4,000 to 1,000. Then 500, then 300, then less than 70. Each remaining assassin clung to fragments of data trying to understand what was killing them. Their death logs were filled with contradictions. Some recorded temperature drops, others recorded hallucinations, others reported sudden neurological failures without physical wounds. Some saw shadows move without logic. Some heard footsteps that belonged to no discernible mass. Some encountered traps that should not have been possible with Earth's technological limitations. Their collective minds could not process what they were experiencing. They had been trained to fight soldiers, not specters carved from the darkest psychological corners of humanity. The Empire's distress channel cracked with terrified voices. Their encrypted transmissions, normally calm and precise, now sounded like children begging for guidance. "They are not human," one whispered between static bursts. "They look human, but they are not. Their movements defy our models. Their strategies anticipate ours. They do not fear injury. They do not hesitate. They are not fighting to defend their species. They are fighting with the joy of predators reclaiming their territory." Another hissed. "We were sent to eliminate a primitive race, not demons. Request immediate extraction." Request immediate. The message ended with a sound that resembled a breath drawn by something non-electronic. Back on Earth, the 12 leaders monitoring the situation watched their screens with mixed horror and awe. They had feared what opening the Black Door would unleash upon the planet. Now they feared what those unleashed weapons were doing to the invaders. Yet none dared intervene. Humanity had committed to this course the moment they accepted the threat of extinction. Interfering now would risk everything. Baba Yaga and the boogeyman were operating within their parameters designed for the worst scenario imaginable. The leaders did not feel pride watching the assassins fall. They felt dread. Dread at the realization that these two were not merely weapons. They were storms in human skin, uncontrolled, uncontainable, and directed only toward the destruction of whatever threatened the species that made them. On the Empire side of the galaxy, commanders stared at the reports in disbelief. The Assassin's Guild had never failed. Not once. Their existence was the backbone of the Empire's dominance. A rebellion was impossible wherever the Guild walked. But Earth had reversed everything. The Empire considered deploying its legions, but hesitation ruled. To lose 10,000 assassins was catastrophic. To lose a fleet would be unforgivable. Yet doing nothing meant admitting defeat, a concept politically unacceptable. The Emperor demanded clarity. He wanted to know what on Earth, what in the humans, could possibly accomplish the impossible. But no clarity arrived. Only fragmented screams, warnings, and then silence. Back on Earth, the remaining assassins attempted a desperate regrouping. A gathering in a mountainous region where sensors indicated minimal human activity. They hoped to form a counterresponse, to create an organized defense against the two predators slaughtering them. They formed a circle, weapons drawn outward, scanning the horizon. Their armor glowed faintly, registering abnormal atmospheric disturbances. They believed they had minutes to strategize. They were wrong. Baba Yaga was already among them. One assassin turned and saw a blur. Another sensed the absence of sound where sound should have been. Another saw his comrade collapse without an injury. Panic surged through their ranks. They fired blindly, sensors screaming warnings, their advanced targeting system struggling to lock onto a moving entity that did not register properly in any spectrums. Shots filled the air, tearing through rock and soil. But none struck her. She moved like mist made of blades, weaving between them with movements that defied implication. She did not speak. She did not breathe loudly. She did not pause. She simply ended them. A sudden explosion tore through the formation. Assassins flew backward, armor cracked. The dust cleared, and standing atop a shattered boulder was the Boogeyman. He was not subtle. He was not silent. His presence was a declaration of dominance. He was the blunt force to Baba Yaga's scalpel. He stared down at the survivors with eyes not filled with hate, but with the cold judgment of a predator finishing off wounded prey. And the assassins understood something that no part of their training had prepared them for. Humanity was not weak. It was dangerous in a way the galaxy had never accounted for. Humanity didn't follow rules of warfare set by interstellar empires. It followed rules written by its own violent, brutal evolution. Together, the two moved through the remaining assassins. She struck from the shadows. He crushed from the open. They did not coordinate verbally, but their synergy was perfect. She herded them into his traps. He forced them into her path. They dismantled the elite force with the practiced ease of creatures built for survival against impossible odds. The last assassin fled. Not tactically. Not with discipline. He ran the way ancient prey once ran from saber-toothed predators under the ancient forests of Earth. He dashed over rocks, through brush, across a stream that splashed up cold water. He scrambled until his legs failed him. When he finally fell to his knees, gasping, he looked up and saw two silhouettes. One silent, one steady. He raised his trembling hand in surrender, a gesture the Guild had never taught its members. But surrender did not exist in this conflict. Mercy was not written into the DNA of the two beings standing before him. Humanity had unleashed them because there was no alternative. When the assassin's vision dimmed, when his neural core flickered out, Earth stood victorious. The Assassin's Guild had been annihilated. The Black Door's guardians had completed their task. Humanity was safe, at a cost the leaders would never speak of publicly. Far away, across the galaxy, the Empire received the final status report, complete silence. No signals. No survivors. 10,000 assassins gone. Some commanders argued for war. Others urged caution. A few whispered that Earth must be left alone forever. Religious factions emerged among imperial citizens, claiming Earth housed divine warriors. Military strategists argued that attacking Earth again would risk unleashing more horrors. Politicians panicked, knowing that the loss of the Guild would shatter the Empire's terror-based rule. For centuries, the Guild ensured obedience. Now it was gone, destroyed by what the Empire still believed to be two humans. The Empire dispatched a diplomatic ship instead of a war fleet. The vessel approached Earth slowly, broadcasting peaceful intentions. When it arrived, its envoys asked humanity a single question: how had two humans defeated their greatest force? Earth's response was simple and terrifying: they were the last option we hoped never to use. The diplomats asked if humanity possessed more weapons like them. Earth did not answer, and the silence was worse than any declaration of strength. Across the galaxy, stories spread. Travelers whispered of the blue world where nightmares hunted invaders. Smugglers warned each other not to enter Earth's orbit. Imperial officers shifted uncomfortably whenever Earth appeared on star charts. And over time, a new reputation formed, not from Earth's technology, not from its fleets, not from its relatively young civilization, but from the myth of two figures who stepped out of the Black Door and into galactic legend. The Witch of Earth. The Shadow Man Baba Yaga, the Boogeyman. Humanity was no longer seen as primitive. It was seen as unpredictable, dangerous, and frighteningly capable when cornered, and the galaxy learned a truth older than civilization itself: when humanity is pushed to extinction, it does not break. It becomes the monster in the dark. The Empire eventually signed a formal treaty with Earth. It acknowledged sovereignty. It promised non-interference. It offered reparations no human ever expected to receive. Humanity accepted, quietly, cautiously, knowing peace was only guaranteed because the galaxy feared the alternative. Earth's leaders sealed the Black Door once more. They hoped it would never open again. But deep in the hidden chambers, two beings sat in silence. One sharpening a blade. One resting against a wall, eyes open in the dark. Waiting. Watching. As they always had, Earth slept peacefully above them, unaware of how close it had come to destruction, unaware of the legends that protected it. And across the galaxy, the Empire taught future generations a warning that would echo for centuries. The Empire sent 10,000 assassins. Earth sent only 2. And that was enough.